Yes. Okay, hi everyone. I hope this is much better. Hi Mo, can you hear me now?
I can hear you clearly.
Oh, fantastic. All right, guys, isn't it? It's just ironic that we're talking about excellence and grit, and then immediately we had a test of grit, and something about excellence telling you, oh, okay, well, let's see how excellent you are. This is a much better connection, and we believe it's going to hold. So, hello again, and welcome to the penultimate session of the Mind Your Business series, which we curated from Julia Jacks Consulting to give all people who listen in, our guests, owners of growing businesses, people who are building the personal brands, a foundation with which they can build their brand. And we've had 4 very engaging sessions. And as we begin to wrap up, we decided to bring in someone who can help us pull together the threads. What are the threads we've been talking about? We've talked about financial issues, talked about regulatory issues, legal issues. We've talked about the power of vision and the ability to think small, but go big. And we've also talked about being mindful about our mental health. And today, what we want to talk about is excellence, grit, and pivoting. And you'll need all these other things we've talked about, pull them together to be able to build an excellent brand. So I'll tell you a little bit about my friend and our guest today. Omorinsojo Desalu obtained a master's degree in business administration from the University of Sheffield in England. And she spent 5 years afterwards at Lloyd's as an aviation placing broker with Jardine Insurance Brokers International Limited in London. A chartered insurance practitioner, an associate of the Chartered Insurance Institute, London, and planning to retire soon. She's going to tell us about that. A planning to retire soon insurance professional. Maureen is the CEO of Riskwatch Insurance Brokers Limited in Lagos, and she's known as an alternative risk transfer solutions specialist. Now, I'm going to break protocol and tell you a little bit more about this lady, who is my friend. She doesn't take, refuses to take the credit for it, but she is my peer mentor. She is my friend. She is the one who taught me the fundamentals, a lot of the fundamentals of business, because I started off with more energy and daring do and enthusiasm than the actual knowledge of the business of business. And she was the one who held my hand when I used to wear skirt suits to Owambe parties. And she told me, no, this is not how we do it. This is not how we do it, So there is a lot that we can learn. There's a lot I can do. I could tell you anecdote after anecdote after anecdote, but let me continue. Having broken rank, Omorinsojo is an alumnus of the prestigious Lagos Business School. She's a founding trustee of Women in Management and Business, WIMBIZ, and a trustee of Reagan Old Girls Association. And currently, she's the chair board of trustees of the Omorinsojo Desalu Parkinson's Foundation, where she is working with her team to bring the awareness of neurodegenerative diseases in an aging population to the forefront among our people. Omorinsojo is committed to the survival of Nigerian languages. She is a keen golfer, and I use those air quotes deliberately, She definitely is an avid reader, a writer. She has excellent penmanship. And if you see her regular penmanship and then her calligraphy penmanship, you'll understand that this is the right person to talk about excellence. And she is the head of a family of 23. Many of whom I know, but the most recent ones I don't know because they're they're still under one. So, or under 2 years. Yes. So, Maureen, welcome to Unplugged. And our apologies for the shaky start, but we've gotten back on track.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you for your kind words. And I do feel welcome. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm happy to be here, to be traumatized by Julia.
Yes, having traumatized myself, I think I can traumatize you. So let's start off with excellence. Do you think excellence is a natural inclination, or can it be learned?
Excellence can be learned. I don't think that anybody was actually born excellent. I think that every one of us comes with a package of gifts, but you can hone your skills and competences. You have to decide what the standards are going to be. And I think that really starts in elementary school, where some child decides, I'm going to be the best at spelling. I'm not going to miss any of my words. And you see all these kids now in spelling bee, spelling expellonomatopia. And you're thinking, what word is that? But nobody comes from heaven with a package like that in your head. They have determined to spell. They learn those words. They take the dictionary and they swallow it. That is them wanting to be excellent in spelling. Now that's their choice. I don't want to be. But I mean, I have my own gift of identifying wrong spellings. I look on the page, and even if I'm not taking in what's written there, I'm seeing what's wrong. So that I know is a gift, because I can't explain it any other way. Nobody learns how to spot mistakes. So I know that is a gift. But I think that you can work at yourself. You know what you're good at. Therefore, polish and shine that part of you that you think you're good at and make it excellent. You can't be good at everything. That's the other thing to remember. So choose your corner and be the best in that corner. A lot of us want to be everything. And I think Julia went down this same road. We're being raised as teenagers. We had these mothers who told us we had to learn to cook, we had to learn to sew, we had to learn to crochet, we had to learn to bake, we had to learn how to ice a cake, we had to learn how to clean the house, you make the bed, you have to learn to wash and iron very well, and they reject half of the things you iron, and whatever. And we needed to know how to plait hair, how to braid, how to do shuku, how to thread it, whatever. And then all of a sudden, nobody even wants to plait the hair. So just after you acquired the skill, somebody brings the relaxer and they perm your hair for you. But no, where I'm going to is that I don't crochet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hairdressers do now to stick hair into people's brains. I don't knit. The best sweaters are in the store. I don't cook that much. There's a chef in my kitchen, that's his core competence. He cooks better than me. And as I said to my husband, you need to cook more for me. I said, do you want sweet food or do you want my food? So you have to decide. You have to decide what you want. And my choice is to eat the food that somebody knows how to cook well. Just if you go to restaurants not restaurants, parties in Nigeria, they say they cook Chinese food. I'm thinking, Chinese food, they're not Chinese food, but do you really know how to cook it? And they throw so much sugar in it. And I'm thinking, stick with what you're excellent at. You guys cook jollof rice that can wake up the dead. You make moi moi that is the best. Stick with it. Why are you telling me you know how to make spaghetti, something or the other? They bring lamb chops that taste like wood, whatever. Stick with what you know. Stick with what it is that you know. And we were trying to be super women because we were being raised by the super women of their time. But the super women of today and supermen are people who have taken one little corner and they become excellent at it. And they're not trying to be the jack of all trades. Even the English proverb says, master of none. When you're a jack of all trades. So I think excellence is what you learn, but you pick what you're going to be excellent at.
I think, what you just said, pick your corner and then polish it and shine it. It resonates with me, particularly because, well, number one, the sheer pain of knitting. I mean, I can sew, I can tack, I can sew things now. But my daughter looks at me and I'm like, why? Just buy another one or take it to the tailor. I mean, what's the big deal? I'm not impressed, But then I also heard recently on the program I was on, the training I was on online, and the young lady said, niches are riches.
Mm.
You know,
I like that.
I mean, that stuck with me. I heard that about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, 3 Sundays ago, definitely. And she said, niches are riches. Know your niche and stick with it. You know, stick with it. Make it your own. Make it your own. You know. So all you actual and would-be super women out there, find your corner of the world. Find what you're good at. If you're good at spelling, do it. If you're good at, well, there must be something you're good at. It doesn't have to be what is popular, but there must be something that you're good at and excel at it. That's what it is, being the best. And they said the best room you have in life is the room for improvement. So in your own area, yeah, improve. So some people say excellence is a moving target. You hit what you think is the best thing since sliced bread, and boom, something new comes along that requires even more from you. So Mo, I want to ask you, I mean, I'm at that stage in my life where sometimes I just get so totally exhausted, like, let me just jump into bed and I'll think about this in 2 days' time. Is it all too exhausting, or is it worth our while to pursue excellence because something new pops up in your field every day?
Good question. Pregnant question. You don't have to pursue excellence in everything. There are times when you need to just do your best. So even if your best is not the excellent, it's your excellence. It's your own excellence. So it's for you to put the markers on what you're doing and why you want to do it. She talked about keen golfer.
Yes, keen.
I started playing golf almost 30 years ago in 1994. When they say, what's your handicap? I say, I'm handicapped. I don't give them a number because we have different reasons why we do these things. Absolutely. I did not go to play golf to become Tiger Woods. I did not go to play golf to even win Nigerian Cup. I went to play golf for, first I was curious, but as soon as I got onto the golf course, I said to myself, oh my God, where has this been all my life? This was the only place where I could walk for 4.5 hours and the air is clean.
Yes.
I can't walk on the road, there's dust. There's, whatever, there's dust, there's danger, there's, name it, there are things you can trip on, whatever. On the golf course, the grass is smooth. It's beautiful. The air is clean. So I go there to take in the air and to enjoy nature. That's one. Two, you're not allowed to use your phone on a golf course. So you have it in your back pocket, it might vibrate or whatever. But it is 4.5 hours of clear head, clear thinking, just therapeutic. I'm thinking of nothing but the almighty little ball that is winning because I send it somewhere and it goes the other way. I'm learning patience. I'm learning to wait for things to fall right and to know that the fact that I stand well, I position, I get it right, Kodak ready, move, I swing. That ball is still going exactly where it wants to go. So there are so many lessons I take away every time I'm on the golf course. I learn something new. But most importantly, I'm teaching myself to slow down. I'm teaching myself to know that it doesn't all revolve around me. That little ball wins. And half of the time, the little ball that I start with doesn't go with me. It has ended up in a swamp. It has ended up in a bush. And I can't get it back. Or I even have looked for it and it eluded me, whatever. So the reasons why I go to the golf course are totally different from Tiger Woods. He wants money. I didn't go there to look for money. I look for my money somewhere else in a different market. But so I'm not looking for excellence on the golf course. So even if I'm excellent in certain areas of my life, I donate that one. It's not for excellence. It's the excellence there is the lack of care, the carefree attitude with which I play golf. That's the excellence on the golf course for me. It's just, I go there and I throw it to the wind and I enjoy myself. So you don't have to be excellent at everything. And I mean, that's my example of how you pick your battles. I don't pick that one. So you can be excellent. There are women, you go into their house, and men, and their OCD. Their house is so clean. You can't, it's sparkling, no odor of any kind. The air is totally fresh. They've opened the windows every single morning. They've cleaned the place, vacuumed everywhere. If you walk into their bedroom, as 2 minutes after they got out of bed, they've made the bed, whatever. That's their excellence. You may find that on my desk where there's nothing, because I delegate everything as it comes. But if I get out of bed and you come there 1 hour later, that comforter is sitting exactly where I left it. I don't choose to be excellent in making the bed. It's not one of the battles that I pull. So, but I mean, with your work, if it is your work, if it is what it is that you live on, you have to be excellent at it. If you want to be known for that particular skill or that competence, then please be excellent at it. Somebody, a very smart person, wrote some letters yesterday that I read and actually signed. And then before the person could read the message I sent to them with the signed copies, I reread the letter. And I saw that it started with president, comma, and it was supposed to be the president. And then I read the dear sir, and he used a small s.
Okay.
I pulled down my signature. I pulled down the letter. And I said, you know what? You are allowed to put in this letter. I'm not allowed to sign it. So please, I beg, let's fill that in. The punctuation, the capitalization, they make all the difference to us. Now, with everybody who's in that generation of SMS language, who even try to write SMS language in letters and use number 4 with a B to write before. It's different. For me, I don't write SMS language at any point in time. I write my before in full. I write your as Y-O-U-R. Because that's my standard. So my standard of excellence even goes into text messages. And before you click send, read it again. Now, everything depends on where it's going. If it's going to a bunch of classmates of yours that it doesn't matter to, fine. But if you make it a habit to always just be correct, punctuation changes the meaning of sentences. Absolutely. Once the comma is not in the right place, you could be reading something totally different. The same thing with just spellings. Just spell it right, because you could have a different word once you drop something else off. So we need to make an effort to make sure that you cross the T's, you dot the I's, you read it over and you read it over again. So you write it, you read it over, and you read it over again. If you do 3 checks before you press send, excellence will come.
True. But you see, what you're saying about this generation, I mean, the generation
Gen Z, millennials and Gen Z.
All the way to the alpha generation that is trying to rise before they can even be weaned of
milk.
Yes, I feel, and this is what I sense, excellence is a global standard. There is a global standard of excellence. And if we decide, like we sometimes do here, and this is not to put my country down, but we always hear, Madam manage it, Oga manages now. And it really gets my goat. When we go abroad, we may do well in cramming things, but we can't, or let me not say we can't, we don't do so well in going for excellence because we've been taught manage it like that as an alternative way of life. That is my take on it. And that's why I decided that it was important that I speak to somebody who believes in excellence in whatever you're doing, not in everything, but whatever you choose to do, there's excellence. How do you think that we would really compete? And it may be a moot question, but how do you think, not our generation, but the generation after us and the millennials, I don't know what they call the generation after us. I mean, there must have been another generation before the millennials and the Gen Zs. But how do you think they would cope? Because at a certain point in time, you'll have to write, and you're not going to write the president of America or wherever using SMS language. So how do you think managing like that versus excellence will take us and our owners of our businesses?
If we're going to be local and sell global, we have no choice but to move with global standards. Excellence is not an option. Excellence is the only way to do it. With the mechanization, digitalization, the whole world is able to produce the same thing, the same service repeatedly and dependably. So we cannot just produce that and take it like that, random. They ask for something round. Some are oval, some are a bit square round, as they say in the nail salon, whatever. Yeah. And you think it's going to be accepted. No, and the cost of shipping it out is too expensive. They'll be rejected and you'll have to ship it back. So it's important that excellence just has to be a watchword. There's no two ways about it.
I know recently you and I and a few other friends had a conversation around ChatGPT. I think it's a software, artificial intelligence software, which would help you, I guess, write, can even churn out a script for you. So people are thinking about things, but how can they improve what they are doing? And what I get from what Maureen has said is that if you want to play local and stay small, well, that's okay. But if you want to be local and play and be taken seriously in the global markets, and that includes, I mean, you might say, okay, I'm not offering a service, but what if you're packaging and the packaging is not just perfect? Or you write things about maybe you're making chocolates or cashew nuts and you're selling them for exports and there are typos all over. Who's going to take you seriously? I mean, it's better that you write it in your language. It's better, I mean, I'm Efik, it's better I write it in Efik and create that exotic aura around me than to write it in English and there are typos all over and caps and lows where they shouldn't be. But anyway, that is how I feel. And I feel strongly about that.
No, what you're saying is the underlying comment there is this. If you cannot be bothered with the detail in what you wrote on the back of your pack of chocolates, why should I trust you with what you put in the chocolate? Yeah. You're going to kill me because you would have put, because you can't read honey or syrup on a bottle, you may have put rat poison in the food. If you cannot take care of the detail, you are careless. I will not entrust what I put in my mouth to you. So we're not going global if you are careless.
Well, guys, there you go. You can take it, as my father used to say, you can put it in your pipe and smoke it. Okay, so we're not smoking. So think on these things. Think on these things. So let's go to another second part of our topic for today. Soon to retire insurance professional. I know I met you. When I met you, you were already running wristwatch. How long has wristwatch been around?
31st. We're in our 31st year.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about the story of wristwatch? Why did you start it?
Interesting. I had worked in insurance as an underwriter for 4 years after youth service in marine and aviation. I went to the UK to take an MBA. And at the end of my MBA, I was asked to do a project and I decided to work in finance, in insurance. The university said, we don't have access to the City of London. You have to use your own contacts. So I turned to my Nigerian brothers in insurance and reinsurance and got calls from companies in the UK, insurance companies in the UK, to come to London for interviews, all expenses paid, train paid for, lunch paid for, which I didn't quite understand. But anyway, I got 3 different job offers, and I went to the one that was the most honest about their approach. They had invited me and asked me, do you know a Chief Milani? And I said, I know his name, but I don't know him. And the chairman, I was in the chairman's office, so I actually wondered what I was doing in the chairman's office. But anyway, I was in the chairman's office, and I said, I don't know him. And he said, interesting. I'm giving you this job because you don't know him. He's our client, and he brings us business out of Nigeria, from Nigeria Insurance Corporation and from Nikon. And you don't know him, but we have your CV from him. And I said, a certain brother of mine called Remy Olode, who founded a company called IGI, had asked me, how many CVs have you put out? When I said I was looking for a job. And I said 3. I've applied to 3 places. And he said, you're not serious. How do you get a job with 3 CVs out? Send me 10. And I'd sent him 10 CVs. So he spread it around the world. Obviously gave it to this Chief Milani, who gave it to these people. These people asked me a booby-trapped question. Well, I don't know if they knew, but they asked me do you know this man? And I said, I don't know him. And in the end, he says to me, I'm giving you the job. You're coming in for a year internship. And I'm hiring you because you don't know Chief Milani. As a Nigerian, I expected you to say that he was your uncle. But you said you don't know the man. I like the brutal honesty, and I'm going to hire you for that. And when your uncle comes to London, we will introduce you to him.
All right.
And that's really how that job came to be. And that job changed my career narrative completely. Anyway, I ended up spending almost 5 years in that job. They treated me like a princess. They put me in the Lloyd's market in 4 weeks precisely. And I was the first Black woman on the floor of Lloyd's of London as a reinsurance broker. But I know that I was standing on the shoulders of people who gave them business out of Nigeria. So I benefited from that. And when people talk about racism, did you experience racism in the UK? I say contrary, I was special. And, but I paid my dues. I did my work efficiently. I left them. They applied for a work permit for me, and I stayed an extra 4 years. I left the UK in 1989 because I was just tired. And I was traveling a lot. I was doing African business. Traveling in Africa in the 80s was a nightmare because there were just not enough flights to take you around. And I found I was just always in the field, always in some desert or the other. And I just had it. I thought, okay, time to go home. I worked in, what do I want to call it now? A company that would have been an asset management company in 1990. A gentleman who used to be a consultant had started this company, which is now of blessed memory, so I shan't dig up the bones. And we were investment managers, and we did mergers and acquisitions. And in that process, I actually went to be the chief executive officer of the Polygram while it was transiting into Premier Music. So the company I was with bought the Polygram license and the factory and everything, and I was in there. But I could see quickly it was a dead end because nobody was playing vinyl records anymore. So why would anybody buy a factory that is making vinyl records when you can't even find a record player? Anyway, my boss had his own dream, but I wasn't latching on to that dream. And I was talking to some senior friends who said to me, why are you doing this if you're so frustrated? And I said, oh, I don't know what else to do right now. And they said, but you came out of insurance. Then you decided to use your MBA to go into management consulting. So why don't you go back into insurance? And I said, I don't want to work in any of those insurance companies. I've been doing reinsurance broking. I don't know where that fits in. And they said, start your own business. I said, I don't have any capital. And they said, you've got a brain and you have sweat equity that you can
social capital.
I didn't know that at the time. But yes, Julia invented the word for me. And they said, you have a car, you have a computer, you have a printer. Put a value on those things and bring them into the business. And whatever little money you have, put into the business, and then we'll support you. And so there were 4 people who actually supported the business in 1991. Registered, we got a license, and started business in January of 1992. So we're in our 31st year this year, and it's been a long walk in the wilderness. It's had its ups and downs. It's managed to flow with Nigeria's macroeconomics and Nigeria's politics. You know, we've had the political crisis, we've had election issues in 93, 94, 95, we were all down in the valley. And then coming up 1995, I went for a walk. I was tired and I took a holiday and went to South Africa to meet some new friends that I had met at a conference the year before. And while I was away in South Africa, I saw things being done differently in a different place and came back. And that is when we moved into alternate risk transfer solutions, where we realized that the client doesn't have to buy insurance. Sometimes the client needs to be its own insurer by setting aside enough funds to run its own business, but must have excellent housekeeping to do that. And so we started working with clients who had large fleets of cars, like 2,000 cars, and just building captive insurance cells for them to manage their own business. It was an interesting model. We could have done it a little better to favor ourselves better, but we're proud to be part of the success of a lot of clients by creating value for them in that area. We've had, at our largest, we had 60 staff, and 31 years later, we're like 20. And we work a model that is like a boutique, and we have a few clients. It's a select community. And I don't know if you remember the store Sims in New York, which used to say an educated customer is our best customer. Okay. It said, you know, basically they sold the top brands at a discount because they bought them from the outlet malls. And, you know, they themselves became an outlet mall in the city. So they always bought excess. And then, but they say the educated customer is their best customer. If the customer doesn't know the brands, they can't buy them in, they don't know that this is the value that we're carrying. The customer is our best customer, a customer who actually knows the value of having insurance cover, having a replacement cost. Not a customer that I'm going to be quarreling with that you bought this car for 8 million naira and we've depreciated it and you're insuring it for 5 million naira when the replacement cost of the car is now 20 million naira. So if anything happens to the car today, you total it in a crash or it gets stolen and they give you 5 million naira, you now say you've been robbed because it doesn't buy you a new car. But if you are educated about the subject matter, you understand when your insurance advisor tells you consistently, revalue, 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 because we're living in runaway inflation, we're living in non-stop devaluation, and the car wasn't made in Onitsha. So you have to buy the car from wherever it was that it was made, and they're dollars. So we don't have to sweat too much with the customers who understand what we're talking about. And the ones who don't, they maybe learn the hard way, and if they're really lucky, nothing happens, and they don't need to call the policy. What do I want to tell you about wristwatch? I think that's it in a nutshell.
Well, it sounds like there's been a lot of pivoting within wristwatch itself, the focus of the business. And I know the word pivot is the latest buzzword when it comes to redirecting our paths and stuff like that. But I don't think it's something new. It's what people have always done to sit down and redefine But pivot just sounds like a real nice, sexy word,
Sexy word, yeah.
Yes, But, and you've talked us through why it became necessary for you to move from one thing to the other. But what comes across very, very strongly is that you have to be self-aware at all times. Constantly ask yourself, am I on the path? Am I doing what I should do? And you also touched on something which is being vulnerable enough to tell yourself and other people, like, this is not working out, and listen to what they say, because you did open yourself up to people and say, this is not working out. And they told you what you had, which you didn't probably value the way they saw, yeah. And then the other thing I get from what you say is that it's important to have a cheering section. You need your cheerleaders. Yeah. I don't know how easy it is to pivot without cheerleaders. Have you ever had to do something new without having your cheer gang with you? Well, not gang that way, but not gang, but gang. Your cheerleaders.
I don't wait for my chair gang to wake up. I'm always on the phone. So I call and I'm like, hey, this is going on with me. What do you think? And I think Julian knows that I'm a bit of a prostitute when it comes to seeking an opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I sit down, I would pray about it and ask myself, God, please tell me who I should be talking to here. Who should I be talking to? And I would look for 3 people on everything. I do at least 3. So that if you do 2 people and the 2 of them are facing the same direction, then you don't have a vote. But if you ask 3 people who are very unlikely to call one another and say, this is where I'm at, or this is what I'm thinking of, what do you think? You'll get some clear sense of direction. And it's only at the point when they agree that I will now say, Julia, that's exactly what Mimi said. And then, Hetty has rolled in. This is exactly what Hetty said as well. At that point, I'll have a discussion, and we can then make it a boardroom. But there's nothing we read. There's this thing that made its rounds on WhatsApp, says, who is sitting at your table?
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's important that everybody does that analysis. And you look at your table. I can't remember if it's 6 or 8, but you decide what each chair represents. So one can be spiritual, one can be emotional, one can be family spouse, one can be family children, one can be work, as in the work itself that you do, your actual skill, and another one can be work as in administration, whatever. You can have a totally different person on finance. You can have somebody totally different on human resources. And when I say human resources, it's back to ability to hire and the ability to fire. The people you should fire kill your spirit. And it's, every now and again, you need to just say, you know what, I have this staff that is training me. And this is it. And the person says to you, what are the pros? And then what are the cons? And the people who, the pros are so many that they will tell you, let them drain you. Keep taking what you can take from them once you know you can't replace that particular strength easily. So very important to have, she calls it the cheerleading corner. Yeah, that's what it is. But for me, I don't wait for them to come and cheer me on. I'm calling them and asking for their applause. But my friend, help me. And then it's in that process that they'll tell you this is good. And or this is not good, don't do it, or whatever. So everybody, please know who's sitting at your table. I'm sure that Julia Jacks can find that article or that little that write-up that somebody did about who's sitting at your table. And
we'll pull it up.
It came up on WhatsApp. Sounds like trivia, but it's not. It's one of the most important things you'll actually have to do. Look at who is sitting at your table. Yeah. That kitchen cabinet, you need it.
Very, very important. Very important. I mean, I call it who's who. who's speaking into your ear? Who's speaking to your ear? Who are you listening to? Very important. Yeah. And even more important that you don't have people who just agree with you. You know, there's really no value in that. Okay, so Mo, 31 years of wristwatch, and how many years? 40 plus years in insurance. Girl, you're old. Well done.
When old men call you auntie, you check yourself.
So let's talk about grits, because you must have had grits to come this far. Grit is such a gritty word, you know. It calls to mind clenched teeth and, you know, fists. And then, you know, sometimes that dirt we find in shellfish, you know, that just like gritty. But it's the grit that produces the pearls sometimes, right? And then one of our viewers had sent in this question. It's a comment stroke question. It said, not all grit is good. When goals are pursued for the wrong reasons and in destructive ways, having too much of the wrong kind of grit can be detrimental. Now, I don't know what the wrong type of grit is. Is that please, what do you think? Because I don't know, we just got sent in this question, so I'd like to
I'm being a bit silly now. This is what I do all the time. I check things out. I ask myself if my understanding of the word is the actual true meaning of the word. So in as much as we had this topic, we started, I've never really opened the dictionary to say what is grit. So I'm doing Merriam-Webster. It says sand, gravel. That's the first one. A hard, sharp granule. Material composed of many such granules. The structure of the stone that adapts itself to grinding. Firmness of mind or spirit. Unyielding courage in the face of hardship or danger. Managed to survive by his grit or guile. So, I think in this context, we'll just talk about grit as braving the storms and staying on. Which, there's a book that I read long before my MBA called What They Don't Teach You at the Harvard Business School. And it's a book about street sense. It's 1982 or 1983. And one of the chapters is called Stick to the Knitting. Now, Julia and I understand that easily because our mothers made us knit. Most of the people listening to me do not understand what knitting is. Knitting is sitting with 2 pins and rolls of wool and just going this way, this way, this way, probably being followed by a cat looking for wool, but you are trying to make a sweater. Yes. That means that you are going this way and back that way, and this way and back that way. And if you're going to make socks, for example, it's not narrow, it's not wider than this. Then at the end, you double it up. Why would they say stick to the knitting? When you are knitting a sweater, you cannot halfway through it decide, I don't want to do it again, I want to make a blanket. It cannot become a blanket.
It can't work, yeah.
You're either going to complete knitting the sweater or you are going to abandon the project and then start on the blanket. But you who cannot knit a sweater cannot knit a blanket. So you need to know that. But you may be able to now move away from sweater to knit socks. Something smaller if your willpower, your focus doesn't take you through knitting a sweater.
Yeah.
So reading that chapter that says stick to the knitting is for you to always remember what you set out to do and to stay on the track. I'll give you an example. House help. Lovely little ladies, the lady's maid. I had a young lady called Gloria. If I'm blessed, maybe she's online. She lived with me for 5-6 years. Auntie Julia knows Gloria. Everybody knows Gloria because she was brave enough to send messages to Auntie Julia in London. Please, I want a pair of red shoes. They should now add, I want you to get it from Next or from Wallis. She hasn't left Obalende. How does she know where they're selling shoes in London? But anyway, she was very fashion forward, bought her skirt suits from New York, I'd buy a nice hat. She was an usher in her church, whatever. But deep down, my story is always, don't come to my house for a permanent appointment. If in 18 months of living with me, you haven't got a plan of what you want to do with your life, it's time for you to head out somewhere else. I don't want you living with me for more than three years at the most. But during that 3 years, what can we achieve? So we do low-hanging fruit. She's training to be a hairdresser. I think she does it for 1 year or so. She sacks them and decides she doesn't want to be a hairdresser anymore. So what do you want to be? She wants to be a fashion designer. So we move to the next level. She starts going to tailor and she's learning how to sew. And we are paying the tailor, whatever it is, and you're ending up going to go and pay something for the freedom or whatever. At the end of the day, you buy a sewing machine for her and, you know, she's got her freedom and you two are freeing her to make sure. She can't sew a handkerchief and she's not interested. Then the next thing, she wants to be a computer something or the other. And you're asking yourself, why can you not finish one thought? Why would you not even try it out before you decide it won't work? But she won't. But she's not the only one. She's not the only one. We've done it with, you know, other people. Let me not mention their names. The ones who leave and after many years and say, I'm going to go and farm. And they go, and 9 months later, they're back. Says, the old farm has dried up. I said, because you're too lazy to water things in the morning and then go back and water it at night. The farm will dry up. You too, if you're young, will grow for you.
Dry up.
They can't. So you don't focus. They don't stick to it. Grit is being there. You have to stay there. Whether it rains or it doesn't. Somebody told me a story once about, she was working in a bank that was falling apart. And I said, why are you still here? And she said to me, because I'm waiting for my bus. And I said, what does that mean? She said, you lived in London. If I want to get on the number 8 bus that will take me to Wilson Garage, I'm going to stand at the bus stop and wait for the number 8 bus. Number 25 going to Victoria is going to go past me. I'm not getting on it. Number 13 going to Aldwych is coming. I'm not getting on it. The clouds come. It looks like it's going to rain. I'm not leaving the bus stop because I'm waiting for number 8. Then it rains. And then buses and cars go past. And they even splash water on me. And my clothes are now muddy. But I'm getting on the number 8 bus. I'm not going home to go and change. It will dry on my body because I am waiting for the number 8 bus. She says, I will stay here until the number 8 bus comes. It's for us to now decide, what is your number 8 bus? Where are you headed? And how many things are you going to allow to distract you from your goal? Stick to the knitting with grit.
Yeah. Stick to the knitting and wait for your bus.
Wait for your bus.
Know your niche and polish it. Polish it. Keep polishing it. You know. And Mo, this is about the last question I have. The Omorinsojo Desalu Parkinson's Foundation. Is this part of your pivoting process?
I wish. Life throws things at you. And one of the things that life threw at me was a patient with Parkinson's disease. And I can't tell you I was particularly smart because I didn't even have a community to go to. I didn't have a community to ask questions on how we do this. My main community was Google and Michael J. Fox, who had a diagnosis with Parkinson's at 29.
29.
And 30 years later, he's still there. In fact, now 35 years later, he's still fighting. He took his energy and turned it into finding a cure for Parkinson's, raising money to find a cure for Parkinson's. So I had a patient and we went through the whole hospital process, brain care center at the Emory University in America. we had the best access to the best medical system in the world, systems. And we had good neurologists, and my husband was the patient, and he had a fighting spirit. And everything that they said we could do to fight the disease, we did. So one of those was exercise is medicine. Exercise is the only thing that your body can do to produce dopamine in the brain naturally. And Parkinson's is what you get when you don't have dopamine supplied to your brain. And then you get movement disabilities. He fought the movement disabilities with physical exercise, almost physical exertion. But treadmill, sit down ellipticals, he would dance, he would box, he would walk, everything that he could do to supplement the dopamine supply from his body, he did. Sadly, as with most patients, he won the battle and transitioned away from the discomfort. And so I looked at all the things we had bought in the house and thought, what are you going to do with this? Decided to make it available for others to use. And so the plan was to set up a low-impact gym for patients with Parkinson's to come and work out and use. And then I met a patient, Omotola Thomas, who then says to me, no, you can't do just that. You have to be able to provide other support for the patients. So we need to set up communities. And you talked about not having a community when you were going through. You need to be able to set up communities for people to go to, share with caregivers, share with other caregivers, patients share with patients and caregivers to make their voice heard, whatever. So that's one. There's so many other parts of this disease. Handwriting goes, micrographia. You need to help people with their handwriting. You need to, we provided a boxing arena. We've provided a dance studio in the same space. We've provided a gym. We've provided a room to practice handwriting. We've provided the ambience to have a community gather and meet on a regular basis. We've provided a library where people can actually come and read and find out a little bit more. And we have a family that is, so it's not staff, it's a family. We have a family at the center that people will come and be comfortable in their presence, be vulnerable in their presence. And we just want to make life better for people living with Parkinson's. Pivoting, it has become a pivot, but it wasn't planned that way. It just happened. So it's just one of those things that was always on the stars that we were going to do. And God made it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's such a wonderful note to end on, because you bring all your energy, all the knowledge, all your managerial skills, and you're giving back to people who didn't have the benefit of acquiring those skills in the first place. And you're giving back in a way that if someone had asked you 10 years before, Maureen would have said, nah, that's not in my future at all.
5 years, never mind 10.
5 years, yes. They said, no, that's not in my future. And the Parkinson's Center, the Desalu Parkinson's Center officially opened last year. About this time last year, right?
April 19.
Okay, April. Yeah, April last year, yes. So it's well, I don't feel bad about doing an unpaid adverts, because her husband was a man I called, and is still a man I call Besto. He was a very accommodating, loving human being, because he accepted all of Maureen's friends, all of us, the good, the bad, the loud, and the very loud. Yes, he accepted all of us, and he used to sit down and chat with us endlessly. I mean, he was extremely interested in all our lives, and we just talk with him, and we wouldn't know that we were sitting down with someone's friend and gossiping about different things. So that was great, and that was in itself, I'd say that their home turned into a hub where you could learn so many things, especially the power of sharing what you know. And that is on that note, I'd like to thank Maureen for sharing what she knows, for being vulnerable vulnerable enough to, many people just tell you, I was born this way, I woke up this way, talk to my manager, talk to my talk to my handlers. And Maury, I don't know why you're laughing. I really don't know why you're laughing. You need a handler, a manager, But she keeps it real and she tells you as it is. You ask her a question and she tells you as it is. If she can't help you, there's so many people that I just get strange people call me, oh, Auntie Maury asked me to call you for this, for that, for the other, and then once it's coming from her, she's built up enough relational currency for people to take her and the people she sends seriously. So Maury, thank you very much for talking to us. We battled, actually we showed grace, didn't we? We battled through the initial, difficulties, and we were determined to come here and talk to you about why you do need excellence, why it is necessary for you to have a sense of excellence and to focus on your niche. You cannot be excellent throughout in everything, and you cannot be excellent every day. Some days it's just enough to breathe, so breathe. And next day you get up and you say, okay, now I can huff and puff after the breathing. I can take it a notch higher, but keep going higher. Don't dumb down yourself no matter what. And do not believe at any point in time that if as a woman, you're not an excellent cook. I'm a good cook, but I prefer not to, it's not, it's not what I prefer to do. I prefer to read. I prefer to do what I'm doing. I prefer to hold the microphone and talk to people. That's what I prefer to do. I prefer to write. I prefer to listen to music. And I think I'll do much better with that than cooking. But my family hasn't complained yet. So I think they're still, like Dr. D and Maury's family manage her. They're managing me like that too. They're managing me like that. So guys, if you have any questions for Mo after this, send them to us and we'll pass them on to you. And then we'll pull up who's sitting at your table so we can share that with you. That's very important for all growing business owners to know who is sitting at your table. Maureen, any last words you have for growing, especially growing businesses? What we're looking at is not just growing businesses, but people who are focused on growth in all areas. So it's not just that you might be a one-person riot squad, but you are focused on growth. You might be a 40-person riot squad, but you are not focused on growth. So we are very growth focused. So any last word?
Don't just buy big shoes. Be sure you can fit into them. Sometimes small is beautiful and size is not everything. So growth can be just growth of your client base, growth of your portfolio. Impression management is not important. Make sure that whatever you do, your costs are within reason and that you're actually making money. It's not just about size. We tend to be very focused on impression management here. It's not important. Be sure that and also it's got to be on a scale you can manage. Once your business gets to the point where you don't know what's going on in particular parts of it, that's not growing. That's the beginning of dying. So be careful how you grow. Scale up where necessary, but keep an eye on every corner.
So guys, be careful how you grow. Scale up where necessary, but keep your eye on anything. If there are any dark corners in your business, I trust you, mushrooms and spiders are growing there. They are occupying that space, and you don't want
to. That's putting it mildly. There are vipers under the bonnet.
There you go. And on that pithy note, I'd like to thank you for joining us, Omorinsojo.
Thank you,
my friend Mo. Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone who joined us. And see you next week when we wrap up Mind Your Business, the curated series from Julia Jacks Consulting. My name is Julia Oku-Jacks. I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.